Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. This is Taliesin McKnight, and today I'm going to talk about a very good love spell to attract the right partner into your life. Very, 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 very excellent love spell. And also, we're going to continue our reading of Agrippa. So, this is kind of a combo video. We're going to be going back to our classic from the 15th century. The 16th century, the 1500s. We're going to be reading the 3 books of occult philosophy by Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa on things to do with Venus. And then we're going to go into how to turn this into a really good love spell. So that's what we're talking about today. So the 3 books of occult philosophy were written around 1510, so the beginning of the 1500s, and Agrippa was always collecting information. I don't think he saw himself as an innovator at all. He was always trying to look back to the classics. A lot of times he quotes Pliny the Elder, or he quotes Virgil. He tries to quote the ancient authors, trying to bring back this ancient magic, as well as collecting the magical practices from the Arabians. There's a big influence of the Picatrix, and really just collecting. Agrippa is a wonderful source of magic tradition, and of course it is a snapshot. He was always looking back, though. You know, we think of Agrippa as this ancient from 500 years ago, this book written over 500 years ago, but really, even Agrippa was always trying to look back. A lot of cunning men and cunning women also would be influenced by Agrippa. People would be reading this. So it's an excellent source of Renaissance magic, and people today, like me, and those that watch my videos, and all of y'all, also are informed by what Agrippa collects. So today we're going to be looking at the things associated with Venus, and then, like I said, I think that you'll be very happy with what occurs if you try this love spell. It's very excellent. So this is all about sympathy. Sympathy. Which, I'm not talking about like having sympathy for someone. I'm talking about using these occult connections in order to pull down power. You know, if we look at the first chapter of Agrippa, the very first chapter, what does he say in the first sentence? Seeing there is a threefold world, elementary, celestial, and intellectual, and every inferior is governed by its superior, and receive the influence of the virtues thereof, so that the very original and chief worker, meaning God, or, the Tao, or source, or divine mind, however you want to see that, doth by angels, the heavens, stars, elements, animals, plants, metals, and stones, convey from himself the virtues of his omnipotency upon us. So this idea of a divine outpouring, and that when you're working magic, basically the original source of creation imbued powers and all these things. In this magical theory, it's similar to how certain plants alleviate headaches, or certain plants make one drowsy, or certain things have entheogens within them. They're different qualities and different things, you know. So let's take a look at what we have with the powers of Venus. What things are associated with Venus? And like I said, after I do this reading, which is just a page long, but it's long-winded, we're going to get into a very, very, very good love working that you can do. So, and we've worked through, you know, I feel very good about it. You know, I did my whole Shem Angel thing. I worked through all 72 Shem Angels, making a detailed video on each one, some of them an hour and a half long, on a Shem Angel, or how to make the Shem Angel pentacle and things like that, looking at all the historical sources that we could find on them. I did complete that work. And here, looking at Agrippa, we've made it to Book 1, Chapter 28. This is the 28th video of doing the readings. What things are under the power of Venus and are called venereal? Yeah, you know, like venereal comes from the word Venus. These things are under Venus. And again, we're in Agrippa's theory of magic. We're working with stones and plants and things in order to work with these divine powers. These things are under Venus, amongst elements, air, and water. Something I want to note here is that air and water were often seen as intermediary elements, right? Fire, heat rises. And we have the celestial fire from the sun, the stars, from the divine presence. So fire moves upward, right? Earth, heavy things fall down, okay? So, but water and air were seen as these intermediary elements. So it makes sense that, you know, even in the Corpus Hermeticum, in the Poimander, it talks about air and water being a mingling or an intermediary thing. So air and water, you think of Venus. Venus is all about uniting things. Mars is all about splitting apart, but Venus unites. It's interesting that Ares and Aphrodite were lovers. So these things are under Venus, amongst elements, air and water. Amongst humors, phlegm, the four humor theory, which is very ancient. Phlegm is associated with the element of water, blood with the element of air. So it matches up with the elemental qualities. Amongst humors, the things of Venus are phlegm with blood, spirit, or the vital or vitality, and seed. So semen and stuff like that. Amongst taste, those which are sweet. So Agrippa, a lot of it goes into like food, things that you eat, right? And food magic and tea magic, making teas, things that you consume or you feed to others, is very ancient. So amongst tastes, those which are sweet, unctuous, which could mean oily or very delicious and rich in this case, and delectable, just another word for like delicious. So amongst taste, those which are sweet, unctuous, and delectable. Amongst metals, silver and brass, both yellow and red. You know, a lot of us use copper for Venus. You can do that. But Agrippa gives an alternate thing, actually silver and brass, both yellow and red. Amongst stones, the beryl, chrysolite, emerald, sapphire, green jasper, carnelian, the stone aetites, lapis lazuli, coral, and all of a fair, various white and green color. Amongst plants and trees, so the herbs of Venus and Agrippa, in the 16th century work. For magic, plants and trees, the vervain, violets. Violets are associated with Venus. They're very pretty. Vervain, violet, maidenhair, which is a type of fern. Valerian, which by the Arabians is called fu. Also thyme, yeah, like kitchen thyme. Agrippa associates it with Venus. Thyme can be used for love workings. Thyme, the gum laudanum, amber. Amber has like an attracting, drawing quality. Amber has been associated with love. Very ancient. Amber. Musk, sandalwood, coriander, and all sweet perfumes and delightful. And he says sandalwood. And all sweet perfumes and delightful and sweet fruits, as sweet pears, figs, pomegranates, which the poets say was in Cyprus, first sown by Venus. Also the rose of Lucifer, being the planet Venus before sunrise. The rose has always been associated with Venus and Aphrodite. Was dedicated to her, the rose. Also the myrtle tree of Hesperus. Moreover, all luxurious, delicious animals and of a strong love. I hope it's talking about the love part here. Dogs, conies, which are rabbits. Dogs, rabbits. You think of rabbits, they mate like rabbits, or they have sex like rabbits, just, all the time. Sorry, y'all. Dogs, rabbits, stinking sheep, and goats, both female and male, which generate sooner than any other animal. For they say that he couples after the 7th day of his being brought forth. Also the bull for his disdain, and the calf for his wantonness. Amongst birds, the swan. Now you can use feathers, all kinds of things. Amongst birds, the swan, the wagtail, the swallow, the pelican, the burgunder, which are very loving to their young. Also the crow. It's kind of surprising to a lot of people. The crow, the pigeon, which is dedicated to Venus, and the turtle dove, one whereof was commanded to be offered at the purification after bringing forth. The sparrow also was dedicated to Venus, which was commanded in the law to be used in the purification, after the leprosy, a martial disease, than which nothing was of more force to resist it. Also the Egyptians called the eagle Venus, because she is prone to venery. For after she hath been trod 13 times in a day, if the male call her, she runs to him again. Amongst fishes, these are venereal, the lustful pilchards, the lecherous gilthead, the whiting for her love to her young, the crab fighting for his mate, and Tithymallus for his fragrance and sweet smell. Now, so we did the reading of Agrippa. Those are the things associated with Venus. And we all need a little bit more love and joy in our lives. Now, Venus is not just love spells. Venus is associated with friendliness, popularity, being well-liked, and sex and romantic love. And, there's all kinds of things that are associated with Venus. But here's my spell for y'all. Okay, we're going to incorporate some Agrippa. And I think you'll be very interested. I think that you'll be a little surprised if you do this. So, first of all, let's talk about there are different views on this three-world model. The divine realm, the place, depending on your perspective, of angels or gods and goddesses or what have you. This is the super celestial realm. This is reflected down into the astrological realm, which reflects down into stones, plants, animals, things like that. Now, I had a discussion, like in the comments, this was a few days back. We were talking about another type of magic, and I was asked, well, what about astrological conditions? My opinion is that when you work with a certain type of magic, you have to kind of forget the model of another type, right? You can't look at different forms of magic through all these different lenses. Agrippa has an upward looking model, okay? But there are other types of magic that are not astrological. There's some forms of magic that are very much looking downward instead of upward. Looking downward to the earth, to things in the ground, to the underworld, the dead, things like that. Looking downward instead of upward. There are many forms of magic that don't even look at astrological configurations. Or it's not an integral part of it, okay? Simple examples include Appalachian folk magic that has survived and now being marketed, and people everywhere, never mind, I'm not going to go into it, but Appalachian folk magic, there's hoodoo, there's Afro-Caribbean systems. There are many different forms of magic and spell work that are not looking at this is square to that planet and all of that, right? So we can't look at all magic through this lens. For Agrippa, it's important. Second of all, this three-world model. It is my opinion, and the opinion of many others and some people that I highly respect, that when you don't want to have to look so much at the astrological conditions, you can move a world up to the super celestial or divine realm. Angels and these higher powers are not restrained by the stars, right? You need to look at the source. So the divine realm is a step above the celestial. While it is good to have all the astrological configurations, in my opinion, if you're working with angel magic, things like that, or if you're working with pagan deities like Aphrodite or Venus, if you're looking upwards beyond the astrological configurations, in my opinion, you're not inhibited. For example, Shem angels, you could work with them anytime. While it's helpful for us as humans, especially if you're cycling through all 72 Shem angels to look at what position the sun is in, it's not limited by that. So my opinion is if you work with the Archangel Anael, the Archangel of Venus, you don't have to be so focused on what is going on astrologically, in my opinion. If you're working with the Archangel Anael, there's some magicians that disagree, and that's fine. You have diversity of opinion. In my opinion, if you're working with the Archangel Anael, planetary day or hour is enough. And in fact, if you're working with the planetary hour, it doesn't have to be on a Friday. But in my opinion, if you're working with the Archangel Anael, you can just do planetary day and hour. So let's take a look at this spell that I have for y'all. These ingredients, I love spells that you don't need a whole lot of things. So for this spell, you'll need 7 lodestones. 7 is associated with Venus. 7 lodestones, and Anael, the archangel. So 7 lodestones, And lodestones are not particularly mentioned by as Venusian by Agrippa, but lodestones, I love lodestones in my magic. They're natural magnets. Lodestones, they draw things to you, right? I think lodestones are wonderful for drawing in prosperity, drawing in love, drawing in whatever you're trying to bring into your life, the lodestone. So we are incorporating the number 7, which Agrippa associates with Venus, and also taste, things that are sweet, unctuous, and delectable. I would get a little cake, or it could be a piece of fruit. But I like to get just a little cake, sweet with the icing, all of that. Get a cake as an offering, 7 lodestones, and just some incense. Your incense is going to incorporate things that Agrippa associates with Venus: sandalwood, rose, coriander, and thyme. So the base of the incense is sandalwood, which of any kind, which Agrippa associates with Venus. Sandalwood and plants that Agrippa associates with Venus. Again, you're doing magic from the 16th century, like people are still working with this. Think of all the centuries people have been using these plants in their Venusian magic. Even those that take a more psychological view of these things, you could say these things have developed power even from that model through repeated use. It's imprinted itself in our psyches, right? So sandalwood, coriander, thyme, and rose. Or you could use any other type of Venusian incense. So what I recommend for this is at the day and hour of Venus, you want to draw love into your life. At the day and hour of Venus, light a candle, call upon Anael, the archangel of Venus. Light the candle to Anael, and pour your heart out with what you're looking for, right? I wouldn't be just too demanding and specific. Something like, let's say you're looking for true love. You're looking for love, respect, maybe physical beauty or appearance in a partner, right? Love, respect, good looks, or whatever you're looking for, right? I wouldn't just make this huge thing, but I'd name 3 or 4 qualities that you'd like to draw. Light the candle, call upon Anael at the hour of Venus, tell the archangel Anael what you want, pour your heart out. Light the incense that has Venusian things, and at this point, I would turn the spell into more of it is a so, right? Begin as a petition, just pouring your heart out, and light the incense and have faith that this is now coming to be. Light the incense and call upon Anael to infuse the 7 lodestones with this power. Wave them through the incense smoke. Wave the 7 lodestones in the smoke of Anael. Offer the cake to Anael, and once the candle burns down, take these 7 lodestones, which are magnetic, and plant them around your home. Okay? Plant them around your home. Or you can carry them with you in a conjure bag or whatever. But I think it's good, like I said, day and hour of Venus. Light a candle to Anael. Offer a cake. I never used to offer things to angels. I've never done that. I've always been kind of anti that because that's how I was trained. But But in something like this, I've come to incorporate it sometimes, you know. It is something, when you give something forth into the spiritual domain, it brings something in. And the lodestones are material objects that can be seen as kind of anchoring that power. So very simple spell. I think you'll be very surprised with what occurs afterwards. So light a candle, call upon Anael at the planetary day and hour, burn, offer the cake, talk about what you want, light the incense, the incense that has the Venusian things, and then calling upon Anael, sense the 7 lodestones. Candles burn out. I would plant these 7 lodestones in a ring around your home. Now, you don't have to be freaked out. It's not like people are going to be knocking on your door. But the way that I've done magic since my 20s, one of the ways I've always done magic is that your yard represents your life. And when you plant something in your yard, it fixes it into your life. If you live in an apartment complex or something, you could place these lodestones around the inside of your home, right? 7 lodestones. One can be on a windowsill. One can be in the back of a bookshelf. One can be in the back of a kitchen cabinet, right? One can be in the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. I don't like to put stuff in the bathroom, but like in a medicine cabinet that's shut, I would just put these 7 lodestones around the inside of your home, if you live in an apartment or you can't really bury them. Or you can carry them in a conjure bag or, a spell bag. Now, some important details that we need to go over. It's important to not just try to draw love, because it might be not what you're looking for, right? You might get some obsessive partner, or you may end up with something that's not what you're needing. So that's why I think it's good to mention 3 or 4 qualities, not a whole list, because you're really limiting yourself. Respect, love. It could be financial stability that you look for in a partner, looks. 3 or 4 qualities, so that when this comes to be, you're not attracting people that really isn't what you're looking for, right? You're drawing the right type of person to you. The second thing I want to talk about is that magic is not just going to fix your life if you have certain issues, right? If you don't take, first of all, let's just be logical here. Physical appearance is often the first thing that people notice before they really get to know you. For a lot of people, physical appearance is this initial draw that gets you to then get to know the person, for some of us. If you're wanting to draw love to your life, you might want to try to look nice and presentable, right? Magic is not going to fix your bad choices, okay? If you're really demanding, or, you have really bad habits, or you're like clingy, or whatever it is, if you have certain qualities, magic is not going to fix it, right? So, and your choices. You always have your own choices and your own actions, right? So I just want to put this out there. For any kind of love working, it should be obvious that if you're looking for love, you're going to work on your physical appearance. You're going to want to be the best person to draw a mate. You're going to work on yourself and try to be someone that will draw the right person to you. Same thing goes for money spells or prosperity workings. You need to be looking for a job or a business, or be willing to invest time into something that can then draw in wealth. If you want something for protection and to get rid of negative people, you should probably not go hang out with those negative people after you do the spell, because you just worked against yourself. Or if you're doing something for protection, you probably shouldn't then go into dangerous situations, right? So this just applies across the board. Doing something for health, and then having unhealthy habits. Magic is not going to fix the natural cause and effect of your actions. So I just want to point that out there. So basically, we talked about what Agrippa, the 16th century sage, I love Agrippa, what he had to say about the things associated with Venus. And then I talked about what I think is a very, I think you'll be surprised by the results of a love spell. Light a candle to Anael, day and hour of Venus. Light a candle to Anael. Offer a cake to Anael, or if that makes you uncomfortable, to the divine in Anael's name. Light the incense of Venus, using just stuff from Agrippa here. Sandalwood, coriander, rose, thyme. I like to use the sandalwood or the incensey stuff as the base, and just a little bit of rose, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of coriander. Mix it up. You want it to, light the incense and tell Anael 2 or 3 qualities, 3 or 4 qualities that you're looking for, and then run the lodestones through the incense smoke, calling on Anael, calling Anael's name, and running the lodestones through the incense smoke. 7 is a number of Venus, and then plant them in a circle around your house. Again, it's just that your home represents your life, and whatever you have planted in your home, it's like planting a seed, right? Or you could put them around different places in your home, so that is drawing things into your life. So that is today's video. I just did a Patreon video on working with the dead, and what I think is a very excellent, it's going to be the video that I recommend people look at if they want to start a necromantic practice. It's on Patreon. By the way, if you want to support my channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And also, my Patreon, I really appreciate my Patreon supporters. It's essentially buying me a cup of coffee, for making these videos, buying me a cup of coffee once a month. I really appreciate it. And my Patreon, those that support my Patreon, this is a way for me to really put more of my focus on these videos and making good content. So I really appreciate my Patreon videos for doing all of this work. It really helps me out. It's like buying me a cup of coffee, and it really means a lot. So half of my videos are on Patreon, and then half of my videos are public. So I really appreciate my Patreon subscribers. If you want to see all my videos, please go to my Patreon. And then also, after a year, all of those videos after a year will go to everyone, to the public. So it's not about holding knowledge or hoarding knowledge, because after a year, all of it will go to everyone. But it's a way for me to put more of my focus on making these videos for y'all. So I really do appreciate my Patreon subscriber. Please consider supporting my work on there. And that is it for today. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for your support and all the love that y'all show. And I will see y'all in the next video. All right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.